Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live session for today. Before I begin, I'm just going to wait for people to start joining in, for my team to join in as well, and to confirm to me whether I'm indeed live. So I'm just going to wait for people to join in and confirm that to me, and then I will most definitely begin with the session. So team or anyone who has all the viewers who are watching, if you could confirm in the comments section whether I'm indeed live and whether you can hear me, that would be great. So that would also allow me to then proceed and begin with the session. Team, if you're watching, could you please confirm that I'm live? I can see some viewers joining in. All right, I've got a confirmation from a YouTuber that I am audible, so that's great. Team, if you could also confirm whether I'm live and whether you can all hear me clearly. All right, seems to be fine. So without further ado, I'll begin with the session. So hello, everyone, once again. I'm Navya Sikka, a licensed immigration advisor at AJV Global, a renowned migration and education consultancy. And that, in fact, is exactly what my topic for today's session is going to be. Basically, everything about the wonderful company that I work in. So I will be giving you all an insight into the kind of services that we provide, the countries that we cater to, the kind of experience that its employees come with, and basically all of those reasons why you should consider working with us as opposed to any other agency if your dream is to have a successful pathway to migration. Now, before I get into the session, I would like to show you all my license card. So here it is. This has basically been issued to me by the Immigration Advisors Authority and allows me to sit here today and provide immigration advice to all of you. Now, I would like to outline some basic rules to this session before I proceed, which I'm sure a lot of the regular viewers would already be aware of. Essentially, please feel free to ask me any of your questions or doubts by commenting in the comments section on Facebook or YouTube at any point in time. I will most definitely endeavor to answer all of your questions, provided you leave your contact details there as well. Yes, that's the only request of mine. If you are already an AJV client, then that's great. You can ask away your questions. We anyways give special priority to our AJV clients. But if you're not signed up with us and if you want your questions answered, then please do leave your contact details there as well, so we can get in touch with you post the session, have a one-on-one chat with you and help understand your query better, and perhaps even answer it more comprehensively. Right, so let's begin with the session for today, and let's talk about what makes AJV stand apart from the multitude of other migration consultancies out there. Well, for starters, for the longest time, we've solely focused on one destination, which was New Zealand. And as a consequence, we have become experts in that domain. Focusing on a single destination for many years helped us to successfully understand the ins and outs of what migration to this wonderful country in the Pacific entails. And what's even better is that a lot of the employees at AJV are actually migrants in New Zealand themselves. And some of them are also people who, in fact, have availed the services of AJV and through the advice provided by us, were able to successfully migrate to the country with their families and, of course, are now working with us too. So if you engage with our staff, you can actually get first-hand information about how different migration routes to New Zealand actually play out and how they can indeed lead to residency, which, of course, is the ultimate goal for most people. So our CEO and founder of the company, Arun Jacob, is himself a migrant and has been residing in New Zealand for several years now. So if you are interested in migrating to New Zealand and you choose to work with us, you will have the opportunity to engage with people who have already been through this entire process themselves and can testify to its efficacy. Which brings me to my second point, which is that we do have presence in India and in our destination country as well, which is New Zealand. So not only do we have an office in New Delhi, but we also have one in Hamilton in New Zealand, which ensures that you have ease of access to us even when you make that move. So we do really pride ourselves on the onshore support that we provide to all of our AJV clients, who right from the time that they step into the country can be assured that they will have our support throughout the period of their stay. This is in fact what truly differentiates us from most other consultancies. So while the other consultancies have their job pretty much done with once you've landed in New Zealand, AJV, on the contrary, believes in forging lifelong partnerships with its clients. We're there for you throughout your journey of migration, practically every step of the way. And like I had previously mentioned, some of our clients even ended up securing jobs with us at a later stage. So our relationship with the client goes well beyond just treating them, as a mere number to achieve targets. But in fact, we actually spend that time understanding their skills and their personality of each client, and we truly value it all. We understand that the actual struggle for a migrant actually begins when they enter the country, and that is why it was of primary importance to us to have onshore presence and to lend that kind of ongoing support to our clients. Another pivotal attribute of our agency is that we work with basic honesty and integrity in an industry that quite often lacks that kind of transparency. And the biggest evidence of that is our effort as a company to get licensed, which basically means that we're regulated by the Immigration Advisors Authority in New Zealand, and of course, are held accountable as well for the advice that we give out to our clients. Now, how is a licensed immigration advisor any different from an unlicensed agent? A licensed immigration advisor is someone who has actually studied a course in immigration law and has been certified as being competent enough to be able to provide immigration advice across all visa categories. Whilst an unlicensed agent, on the other hand, can only provide you with advice on offshore student applications, and they are not required to study immigration law for that. Now, given that our focus as a company was not just on student visas, but on migration as a whole, it was, of course, pertinent for us to ensure that we have a sufficient number of licensed immigration advisors who can support work or partnership or resident applications. As a company, it's very important for us to abide by the laws of the New Zealand government, as ultimately we work for the benefit of the country. So we are very ethical, honest, and transparent in all our dealings. We do have a large team of around 40 people spread across different cities in India, as well as New Zealand and even Malaysia and Canada. So yes, we do have a global reach, and we're on track as far as our vision of becoming a large global scale organization goes. We have about 8 licensed immigration advisors at the moment and more in the making. And some of us are even ex-immigration officers, such as myself. So we really do have that extensive knowledge of immigration instructions and know exactly what Immigration New Zealand likes to see when they look at a file and the kind of things that are required to be shown in an application in order to avail a positive outcome. Now, there are a lot of agencies out there that solely focus on student visas, because you don't require licensed advisors for that, and it may not be as complex a task as representing, say, a work visa or a residence visa. So a lot of you who want to go to New Zealand and approach such agencies, you can be assured that they will try and sell you just that one product, because that's all they have to offer you. Now at AJB, things are very different. We have the ability, the knowledge, and the competency to assess your eligibility for various visa categories. And after looking into all the possible options is when we actually come to the conclusion of what would be the best fit for you. So apart from student visas, we also provide advice on work visas, such as essential skills or the skill migrant category job search visa. We provide assistance with partnership visas, with residence visas, such as a skill migrant category residence visa, and even work to residence visas and residence from work visas. We also provide professional advice on entrepreneur and investor visas. In fact, if you're interested in the business or investor category visas, you can avail advice from none other than the founder of our company, Arun Jacob himself, who, as a seasoned entrepreneur himself, has over 20 years of experience in the international education and migration industry, and has been one of the leading figures promoting New Zealand interests worldwide. So if you are keen on understanding the requirements for any of the above visa categories, please feel free to go to our website and book an appointment for a consultation with us. That will allow you to engage with one of the licensed immigration advisors and have that one-on-one time wherein we will be assessing your profiles in detail and outlining the various possible migration options for you. Now, very recently, we have also started catering to people who have harbored an interest in migrating to Canada. In fact, if you're interested in knowing about your options in both New Zealand and Canada, you can book a joint consultation for that from our website, which will help make the options available to you abundantly clear. Another added benefit of working with AJV is that you can be assured that impeccable paperwork will be carried out on your visa application. Our agency boasts of high approval rates across all visa categories with a 100% approval rate on partnership applications. Such statistics allowed for us to even have a meeting with the staff at Immigration New Zealand in Mumbai earlier this year, which was very fruitful and allowed us to further build on our relationship with them. Now, another great aspect of working with AJV is just the ease and simplicity with which we work. We've always had a work from home setup, and this wasn't done just during the COVID situation. Our director strongly believed in this model of working, and it has proved to be extremely efficient. So we're actually very comfortable in this kind of a setup. And so the oncoming of COVID has not impacted our business operations or the workings of our organization in any way. You can consider AJV, in fact, to be one of the pioneers of this work from home model, and others seem to be following suit, which is great to witness. A lot of people used to have apprehensions, in fact, about whether they can trust a company where the employees largely work online. And this just goes to show that yes, businesses can function in an honest and transparent fashion, even when they're working from home. And I'm not saying that there won't be people who might exploit this kind of setup. There very well may be. But as important as it is for us to try and gain the trust of clients, it's also equally important for you all to be smart consumers and do your research thoroughly before choosing an agency to work with. We do have several reviews on our Facebook page that would give you a glimpse of how we operate. So I would strongly encourage you to look at those. We really pride ourselves, for the integrity with which we work, and it's only our constant effort to work in a manner that would derive utmost customer satisfaction. Now, those are just some of the many reasons that you should consider working with us. So if some of you who are watching the session right now were on the fence about it or just needed more information about the kind of benefits that you would receive by working with us, I hope this video will now make you take that leap, and I can guarantee you that you will not be left disappointed. Right, so I am now going to take a look at whether there have been any questions that have started coming in. All right, so I do not see, I don't see any questions on Facebook. So team, if you could just let me know if there are any questions coming in on Facebook, because I can't see anything on Facebook. So I'll just go over to YouTube then and see if there's anything over there. All right. So there is a query by Prashu Radha, who has written that he is in touch with Fatima from AJV already, which is great. So you have written, hi, how positive are you on the New Zealand opening up its borders by 2021 Q1, or at least by July 2021? Prashu, thanks a lot for your question. I think that's a question that is probably playing on the minds of almost everyone at the moment, including us, I'm not going to lie, because there hasn't actually been any formal confirmation of the same. As soon as there is a confirmation about that, you will definitely hear from us about it. It will be there on our Facebook page as an update too, and I'm sure we'll also do a live session specifically around that. There is a lot of, it's debatable right now whether the borders will open up in time for the February intake, which yes is one of the major intakes for prospective students who do want to travel to New Zealand and pursue studies from there. But as of now, we're not too sure because there has been no confirmation, but we're hoping that within, say, a month or so, we should get clarity on that as well. However, if borders don't open up by Feb, they will most definitely open up by July. There is no doubt about that, because I don't think the economy of New Zealand will also be able to survive if they shut the borders for that longer duration, especially since they are so reliant on the revenue that they do generate from international students. All right. So if the borders don't open up in time for February, they should most definitely open up in time for the July intake. So just stay in touch with us, keep working with us, and actually utilize this time to work on other aspects such as the visa documentation of your application and the admissions process, because all of these things can take even approximately 4 to 6 months or longer depending upon your situation. So keep working with us on that front, and so that basically anytime that we get the news of the borders opening, we are ready to lodge your file. All right, so I hope that was able to answer your question. Dhanush has a query about how does the company charge its clients? It's a one-time payment or an ongoing payment as it goes. Dhanush, it really kind of depends upon the visa category that you're looking at. So thank you for leaving your number. What we will do is that we will connect with you on the number that you've provided, and we'll speak to you about, which visa category it is that you're interested in, so that we can talk to you about the charges accordingly as well. All right. Thanks a lot for your query. Team, can you please confirm if there are any comments that you can see on Facebook? Because I cannot see any comments there. So, all right, I'm going to wait for some more comments to come in. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Other than that, I guess in the meantime, I can start talking about maybe some immigration updates. So yes, the border is still not open to a lot of the people who are based offshore as of now. And in fact, most processing of applications of temporary visa applications of people who are offshore has also been suspended at this point in time, and will be suspended till I think 10th of November. So closer to that date, we'll also have more clarity about what the situation is, whether they're going to, continue with the processing of applications, whether the offshore offices will open, because they will need to open in order to even process those applications, and of course about the border status as well. So hopefully within a month we will have clarity around that. Other than that, there was a recent update from Immigration New Zealand about visitor visa holders, in fact. So essentially what it says is that those of you who held a valid visitor visa on 11 September 2020 can actually now study for up to 6 months in a year rather than 3 months. So you will not need to apply for a VOC or a student visa if you want to study for more than 3 months. And if you held a valid visitor visa on 11 September 2020, you will get an extension or the liberty essentially to study for a 6 month period. And this change also does apply to school-age children who are attending schools, or people who are attending, studying short courses such as language courses. And this would basically benefit people who wish to, continue studying from week to week while they wait for their flights to depart New Zealand, essentially. All right. However, please do take note that for visitor visas that are granted after 11 September 2020, the original rules are still applicable, which means that your visa conditions will only allow you to study for a period of 3 months and not more than that. All right. Other than that, INZ is also now processing and deciding offshore applications for some relationship-based visas if they are supported by New Zealand citizens or residents. All right. And they are also processing, while not approving, offshore applications for selected visa categories. So they're processing these applications, but they're not giving a final decision on them. Reason being, if they approve it, then of course there might be a first entry before date, and that can't be set because the borders are not open right now. So the categories that they are processing, or that they've now continued to process, is the refugee family support visa category, the migrant investor category. So that's investor 1 and 2, including the EOIs for investor 2, the parent retirement category, and the entrepreneur category. So like I said, if you are interested in the investor or entrepreneur categories, this would be a great time to get in touch with us. We can provide you with valuable advice on how to go about this procedure. And it's also great that they're processing these applications. So you won't have to wait for a long time. Even you won't really have to wait for the borders to open, etc., in order for the processing to continue on the applications, right? So essentially, why the Immigration New Zealand has focused on these categories is because the investor 1 and 2 and the entrepreneur categories do attract almost 1 billion New Zealand dollars in investment per annum. So this would really kind of contribute to the wider government recovery plan post-COVID. So the government has taken a keen interest in resuming the processing of these visa categories, lest they lose a significant contribution made by serious investors. All right. So yes, we are getting positive signs that things are starting to open up, but it is going to be a gradual phase. So we'll just have to kind of keep watching and stay tuned for what the next update is all about. There has also been a broadening of criteria for those who can apply for a border exemption as well. So this includes work visa essential skills and accredited employer work visa holders who have valid jobs and were ordinarily residing in New Zealand but had stepped out of the country for whatever reason and got stuck here. So this does not, unfortunately, apply to someone who's offshore and holds a post-study work visa. There's still no news about that yet. So this only covers the essential skills work visa holders and also the accredited employer category. And it applies to those who are already in New Zealand and had started their jobs and now want to go back to those same jobs, which continue to be valid. So there are certain, there's some additional criteria as well, such as that you should have departed New Zealand on or after 1st December 2019, and you should have stayed in New Zealand for 1 or 2 years. It's a bit complex. So in order to get a better understanding about this, it's best if you connect with us. You can always connect with our onshore team. I'm also going to give you the toll-free number for the onshore team, which is 0800-6969-77. There are a lot of changes going on right now with regards to immigration rules. So it's all the more essential to take advice from licensed advisors or consultancies such as ours, because you will be sure that you're getting accurate advice and that you don't end up in a difficult situation. All right. Apart from that, Australian and visa waiver partners of New Zealand citizens and residents can also potentially apply for border exceptions. Now, some of you may be wondering, were partners of New Zealand resident citizens not already accounted for? Yes, they were, but that actually catered to partners who held relationship-based visas. And in the case of Australian citizens who travel to New Zealand, they're actually just granted a residence visa on arrival, so they don't really have to apply for a relationship-based visa, which is why they were actually not accommodated in the earlier policies, but now will be. All right, so that's just a little bit of an update on what's happening on the immigration front, and I'm going to check again if there seem to be any queries. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I think there's something wrong with Facebook, which is why I can't see any comments. Just a second. All right. So Satya Narayan has written, hello, do you guys process? I'm actually going to just read off the questions from, my team is kind enough to kind of paste the questions for me here because I'm not able to see them on Facebook. So I am just going to look into that. So Satya Narayan has written, hello, do you guys process dependent work visa applications? Satya Narayan, thank you so much for writing to us and for joining my session today. It would be great if you could also leave your number so we can connect with you. But to answer your query, yes, we most definitely do process dependent applications. And if you were listening in on the session, I was also talking about how we do have a 100% approval rate for our dependent applications. So that's an excellent, record for us. And if you are interested in, if you are in New Zealand or you want your partner and your children to travel along, etc., whatever the query may be, please do leave your number so we can get in touch with you. All right. Alternatively, you can also contact us on our toll free, which is 1-800-103-6525. That's our India toll free number. So any of you who are interested in speaking to us, post this session, please do give us a ring. Thank you. All right, just a second. So the next question is from Satish Kumar. Hi, ma'am. My wife's visa first entry expired. I can apply for her visa. Hi, Satish. So as of now, the lodgement and processing of temporary entry applications offshore are suspended. All right. So I'm not sure what visa you're on and what visa she's applying for, etc. So I'll need all of that information in order to kind of give you advice around that. So it would be great if you could just leave your contact details here so we can connect with you post this session and speak to you further about this. Thank you. All right. So the next question is, just a second. It is from Joby Joseph, who's left his number, saying, my wife is preparing for OET. What would be the minimum score to pursue nursing studies in New Zealand? Hi, Joby. Thank you for joining the live session and for pasting your query there as well. So the OET requirement would be a minimum score of 350 for each band. And for IELTS, you must achieve a minimum score of 7 in each band of the academic test. All right. So that's information to you out there. Thank you so much for writing to us. And you've left your number. So if you're not already working with us, we'll definitely connect with you. Surendra Rudra has written, what is the overall consultation cost under the skilled migrant category? Surendra, you will find the cost details on our website. But for this, if you're specifically interested in the skilled migrant category for New Zealand, the consultation charge will be about 200 New Zealand dollars. However, if you do sign up with us post that consultation, that entire amount will actually be accommodated into our overall service charge as well. All right. So I think that's a great deal. So if you are interested in that, please leave your contact details so we can connect with you. Thank you. All right, so Surinder seems to be in touch with Anne right now, so that's great. Anne from our team. So Surinder, I would request you to go ahead for the consultation, because I think it's a really great way to get a good insight into what are the various not just skill migrant category, but even other pathways that would probably lead you to migration. All right. So it's a great way where you can chat with a licensed immigration advisor. It's a detailed conversation. There is no time limit to it either. It can be an ongoing consultation as well until we finally decided on what is the best pathway for migration to you. So most of our clients have gotten absolute clarity post those consultations. So if you're on the fence about it, I would personally recommend just go for it, because you will have all your questions answered. All right. So we do have a query from Manhar Manocha, who's written, hello, ma'am. Thanks for clarifying doubts. A few more queries. When is SMC expected to open? Is there a threshold on the salary part for claiming the points for offshore application under SMC residence visa? Right. So firstly, the skilled migrant category residence visa is a residence class visa, and it doesn't lead to permanent residency, it won't give you permanent residency, while it may lead to it. All right. So it's only after 2 years of being a resident that you can apply for permanent residency. So I just wanted to clarify that, because a lot of people tend to confuse the two. Or use the terms interchangeably. So that's just the difference between a residence visa and a permanent residence visa. The only difference between the two is actually about with respect to the travel conditions. So while the travel conditions for a residence visa will have an expiry, that of a PR won't. All right. All right. So the question was, when is SMC expected to open? So there is no confirmation about that yet, but if you are interested in the skilled migrant category visa, whether the job search or the direct residence visa, we can still go ahead and lodge an expression of interest. All right. So they have not stopped or prevented people from lodging expression of interests. And there is a considerable amount of work that is done prior to lodging an EOI as well, such as getting international qualification assessments, etc. So these things can take time. So I would suggest that if you are interested in this category and if you're meeting the requirements, definitely start the process so that you can at least lodge the EOI. And then once the selection resumes, the process will continue essentially. All right. But basically, just because the SMC is not being processed right now shouldn't stop you from at least going ahead and lodging an expression of interest if you are meeting the requirements. All right. So you have also written about the salary threshold. So as of now, the instructions state that if you do have a skilled job, which is, if you have a job that falls under skill level 1, 2, and 3 of the ANSCO, then you will require a pay of 25.50 New Zealand dollars per hour. All right. How easy is it to get approved for investor 2 visas as compared to the entrepreneur route, according to you? Dhanush, Thanks a lot for your query. Essentially, if you're meeting all of the requirements, there should be nothing stopping you from getting an approval on your visa. All right. So it all depends upon whether you're meeting the requirements and whether you've gotten the correct guidance, from a licensed immigration advisor about how you should, present the application and the kind of documentation, because it can be you may require extensive documentation for these visa categories. They are fairly complex, so it's important to engage with a really specialized person. In the case of AJV, we do have our CEO and director of the company, Arun Jacob himself, who personally looks at this category. So you can be assured that you'll get excellent advice on it. All right. So if you are interested in this category, of course, we will connect with you as well. But you can also, go to our website and see whether you would like to book a consultation with Arun and find out a little bit more about these categories. All right. All right. We do have a query from Hassan Elahi, who's written any news about New Zealand immigration for student visas. Um, all right, Hassan, you've not left your contact details, which is rather unfortunate. I would request you to please put in the comment section your contact number or your email ID or something that could allow us to reach out to you as well post the session. However, there is no news right now. Like I just mentioned previously while I was answering another question, there is no news right now about when the borders will open for students. However, we are hopeful that it will happen sooner rather than later, because the country is really reliant on its international students. So they would really require them to come in order to even keep the institutes running. Of course, they're losing out on a lot of funds as well because of that. So yeah, we are hopeful that it will happen soon. All right, we'll keep you posted. All right, we do have a query. What's the next query? Just a second. There's one from Lalita Kumari, who's written, I want to apply for the entrepreneur visa. Rami, okay, would you please explain about the requirements and eligibility? Thanks a lot, Lalita, for pasting your query here and demonstrating your interest in the entrepreneur visa category. Like I was saying, it's a fairly complex category, so it would be great if you could actually book a consultation with Arun to understand the nitty-gritties of this visa category. All right. If you just want an overview or a brief summary, you can also go and check out the YouTube video that Arun has in fact made, where he's spoken a little bit about the investor and entrepreneur categories. I think that would give you a fair idea. But post that, and in order to assess, your profile and how you can perhaps make that transition to New Zealand through this category, it would be best to book that consultation, because you will get detailed information about that. All right. So just follow my advice for that, and I think you'll get a good picture about the categories. So we have another question from Surinder, who's written, what is the language requirement under SMC? Is spouse language requirement mandatory? So yes, Surinder, if you're including your spouse, then they will need to get an English language requirement of an overall of 5 on the IELTS, all right? And if you are claiming points, on the basis of their qualification, etc., you will have to, the spouse will also have to get an overall score of 6.5 on the IELTS. It can be an academic or a general IELTS, all right? So that's just a little bit of information about that. Thanks a lot for your query. Satish has written, thank you for responding. My wife's visitor visa general first entry expired. Mine is a work to residence visa. Satish, thanks for letting us know. You've left your number, so we will get in touch with you and understand your entire situation and case before giving advice. This is a public forum, so I wouldn't want to give very specific advice over here. So just please be patient and wait for us to give you a call, and we most definitely will guide you on the next way forward. All right. Simarpal Singh Bedi, who is actually a client of ours, has written, hi Navya, when are the borders opening? Any update? The SMC website says March 2019 status so far. It means so much lag date. Third student visa, in case one has to go for Feb 2021 intake, then what would happen in case borders don't open? All right. So Simar, I know that I think you had already submitted your expression of interest, and you're probably waiting for that selection, which of course the selections have been suspended right now. Yes, I think the last selections actually took place in March, and post-COVID they have stopped the selections, and that's primarily because they don't want to disadvantage people by issuing out invitations to apply when they may not even be able to gather the documentation in these pandemic times, etc. And of course then they won't be able to enter the country because the borders aren't open. So it's a lot is reliant on that. Hopefully, like I said, we will have further clarity about the borders maybe after a month. So just stay tuned about that. All right. And with regards to the student visa, if the Feb intake doesn't happen, then I think most definitely the July will happen. All right. So if that's also something that you're interested in, I think once again, we'll just have to wait and see, what is the information that we receive from the government. All right. All right. So Jayanti has written, hi, I'm a teacher, a trainer, and would like to know the process and assistance for immigration. Jayanti, thank you so much for joining the session today and for also leaving your number. In fact, it's great if you're a teacher here and you're looking for opportunities to work as a teacher in New Zealand. So in order to work as a teacher in New Zealand, you actually do have to be registered with the Teaching Council of New Zealand. All right. It can be a little difficult to just directly do that registration process when you're sitting overseas. So the best way to go about it is by pursuing a course in teaching, like a GD or a master's in teaching, which leads to registration. All right. And for that, you will also have to give an English language test. And yes, there are, high requirements for that. So you do need an overall score of 7 with no band less than 7. But what's great about the profession of a teacher in New Zealand is that almost all teachers, from primary to secondary to even the tertiary level teachers, do fall under the regional skill shortage list. So there is a shortage of teachers, and it's an overt shortage. It's across various regions such as Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland specifically really does need teachers, specifically in the maths and sciences. All right. You'll also get a really good pay once you have completed your course and you found yourself a job, and then of course you can apply for a residency. So there are some great options. So if you're looking for the study and settle pathway, that's something that you can consider. You've left your number, so one of our counselors will definitely get in touch with you and guide you on the way forward. All right. All right. I'm just gonna have a sip of water. All right. So we have a message from Farooq Sheikh, who says, hi, I'm an AJV client. That's great to know, Farooq. I think you're in touch with Mubaraka, who's an excellent advisor. So you've written, my wife and brother got an offer for Feb intake. Do you think February intake is still on for students, or will they defer the offer? All right, Farooq, I think, I've answered this query now several times. Hopefully the borders open in time for Feb. Even we don't have any information right now. None of the agents do, so if that's what you're expecting us to have an answer at the moment, we don't have that answer, unfortunately. But as soon as we do, you will definitely hear from us, and, you'll be able to see updates about it on our Facebook page as well. We will announce it, scream it from the rooftops even. So please just stay tuned and be patient. If it doesn't, like I said, if it doesn't open for Feb, I think it most definitely will for July. All right. So I think we'll just have to wait and see how everything turns out. All right. Have we exhausted the questions? I still can't see any questions on Facebook team. So if there is anything else, please just paste it over there. I am going to look at YouTube then. Prashu has written, so can we expect a good news on the border opening post New Zealand elections or by year end? Asking a similar question again because I badly want New Zealand to open its borders. I think we're all in the same boat right now. We all really badly want New Zealand to open its borders. So yes, we're all actually hoping that, perhaps post the elections, we'll have greater clarity. Definitely by year end, they will have to give some concrete update to everyone about the border situation. So that's quite likely to happen. So yeah, I would just since you are so keen on New Zealand, just hang in there. All right, things will get better, and I'm sure we'll get some positive news shortly. All right. Prashu has written also countries like UK and Canada partly have opened up its borders for international students. Yes, Prashu, I understand, your angst in the situation. So hopefully New Zealand will also follow suit and we'll hear about that soon. All right, so we have a question from Ali Asgar, who's written, hi, how much time we can get post-study work visa after completing a 2 years of level 5 diploma in patisserie in Auckland or any other city? All right, in order to answer your question, essentially, if you are completing a single qualification, all right, at level 4 to 6 that has been studied in New Zealand full time for at least 60 weeks in New Zealand, all right, you'll either get a 1 year post-study work visa or 2 years post-study work visa if the study was undertaken outside of Auckland and completed by 31st December 2021. All right. So I hope that answers your query. Ali Asgar, I would also request you to please leave your contact details so that we can get in touch with you. We have another question from Kumar Das, who's written, if I apply from AJV, then how much I will assure to get student visa, and after master's course in New Zealand, then can I apply for residence visa and procedure, please? All right, Kumar Das, thank you so much for posting in your query there. While we cannot obviously guarantee a visa, all right, a visa is not a right, it is a privilege in a way. All right, if you are meeting the requirements and if you take our support, what we can assure you is that there will be excellent paperwork on the application. We will thoroughly prepare you for any interview or verification that will be carried out by Immigration New Zealand, and we'll give you accurate guidance about the course selection as well. All right. So the great thing about AJB is that a lot of us, including myself, are actually ex-immigration officers. All right. So I've actually worked on that side of things as well, where I have processed and decided a lot of applications. So we do know what it is that Immigration New Zealand is really looking for in visa applications and how they should be presented. So your chances of getting a positive outcome are great if you do work with us. We also do have great approval rates for, across all the different visa categories. So yeah, if you're wondering about that, I think you should just connect with us. And after speaking to us, our counselors as well, you'll get a great idea about how well equipped our team is to handle your profile in your case. All right. All right, so let me see if there's anything else. I'm going to wait for a minute or two for any other questions to come in. Okay, I also unfortunately cannot see the questions on YouTube anymore, which is sad. So if anyone, team, if you can just see if there are any questions on YouTube or Facebook that I've missed out on and that I should be answering. Otherwise, I am going to call it a day and wrap up the session for today. All right, if there aren't any more questions coming in at this point. All right, so, sorry. So Kumar Das had also asked about whether after a master's course in New Zealand, he can apply for residence visa and the procedure for that. So yes, Kumar, you can most definitely apply for a residence visa post your master's course, provided number one, you meet 160 points. And that's calculated taking into account your age, your previous qualification, work experience, if you're married, then your spouse's qualification, etc. So there are a number of factors that are taken into account while calculating these points. So you need to meet 160 points, and you also require an offer of skilled employment in New Zealand. All right. Or if you complete a 2 years master's course in New Zealand, then also you can apply for residency. Then you won't require an offer of employment to apply for residency, but you still need to meet the 160 points. Okay. And the offer of employment, it should be skilled employment, and you should be getting a pay of 25.50 New Zealand dollars per hour. All right. So if you're meeting these prerequisites, then yes, you most definitely can apply for residency. Another important thing to note is, and something that I get asked by a lot of people, is that do they need to wait for their post-study work visa to expire in its entirety before applying for residency? So that's really not the case. Once you've successfully completed your course, you will be eligible for a post-study work visa. And if you meet the requirements within a month of holding that post-study work visa, you can most definitely apply for a residency. You don't have to wait for the full 2 or 3 year period, in order to do that. All right. All right, I think we've exhausted the questions as of now. So I'm going to wrap up the session for today. Just once again, if you've kind of joined in late or your query wasn't answered, you can always connect with us on the following toll-free numbers. For India, it's 1800-103-6525. And for New Zealand, it is 0800-696977. So thank you so much for attending today's session. And we will be coming on live next Thursday again. One of my colleagues will be coming live and talking to you about another interesting topic. So just stay tuned and see you all later. Thank you.